What's going on, guys? Gary Jahman here, back at it again with a new video. Hope you're doing well, hope you're safe and happy. Today we're talking about the Sony Xperia 10-7, and honestly I'm pretty sure most people don't even care about this phone. But for me, it felt a bit nostalgic. Let me explain. Many years ago, I actually owned a Sony Xperia. I'm not even sure which model anymore. But anyways, the reason I bought it back then was quite simple. The camera quality. Photos were great for that time, but the phone itself was kind of slow, kind of sluggish, it wasn't up to date, and it was like a mid-tier. And back in the day, mid-tier were bad mid-tier phones. Anyways, fast forward to today, the Xperia 10-7, it still kind of looks like old school with those thick bezels and headphone jack, but that's where the nostalgia ends. Now you've got a fingerprint scanner, USB-C, and a much better screen. And the cameras definitely improved compared to those old models. Great positive thing about this phone, the battery life is actually great. It easily lasted me 2 full days on a single charge. And if you are a really light user, you can actually manage to get 3 days, if you don't really do too much on your phone. Anyways, the charging speed isn't super fast, but it's okay. Performance-wise, it's smooth enough. But here's the thing, 120 Hz refresh rate is turned off out of the box. I do not know why manufacturers are doing this, so make sure you turn that on to have a lot of things more smooth. It makes a huge difference. Let's run through these specs real quick. And I won't read every line, just the important ones. The Sony Xperia 10-7 comes with a 6.1-inch OLED display, Full HD Plus resolution, and up to 120 Hz refresh rate. It is powered by the Snapdragon Gen 3 chip, paired with 8 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of storage. You can still add a micro SD card up to 2 terabytes. The cool thing is you can just pull it out with your fingers without using any tool whatsoever. You get a 50 megapixel main camera with optical image stabilization, a 13 megapixel ultra wide, and an 8 megapixel selfie camera on the front. The battery is 5000 mAh and the phone is protected by Gorilla Glass Victus 2 and rated IP65, IP68 for water and dust resistance. It has stereo front speakers, a 3.5mm headphone jack, a side-mounted fingerprint sensor, and even a dedicated camera shutter button that I don't actually use at all. It runs Android 15 out of the box, and Sony promises 4 years of OS updates, which is cool, and also 6 years of security patches. So that is pretty nice to have that option here. Now let's talk about what it's like to use. The display looks really nice. Vibrant colors, good contrast, and really smooth once you enable 120 Hz. It's lightweight, feels solid, and because of that small form factor, it's easy to carry around. But I do have to admit, after a while, one-handed use does cramp my fingers a bit. You can actually multitask on this phone really well. Running 2 apps side by side feels surprisingly smooth. And that sidebar or side sense feature, it's nice to have, and you can switch real quickly between apps, and that goes super fast without no hiccups as well, so no lag whatsoever. It works. It is actually one of those small Sony touches that actually makes daily use better. The camera performs well for still photos, especially in good lighting and with non-moving subjects. But the moment something moves, it struggles, and that's a shame. Photos can get a bit blurry, and yes, you can do some manual work here and there to get the best out of it, but most of us will just shoot in auto mode. Video quality, honestly, it's not great. Why am I so red? Red devil. I'm the Red Skull, guys. It can shoot 4K up to 30 frames per second and also 1080p up to 60 frames per second on the back camera, and on the selfie camera it can do only 1080p up to 60. But the footage just looks off. The colors are dark, sometimes I look red, I'm not even sure why. And the shadows are really black. And the microphone audio is quite weak as well. So yeah, this is definitely not for video creators. But for photographers out there, it actually has some pretty good image quality. There are some software extras like the SideSense panel as mentioned, and a few search shortcuts, but nothing groundbreaking. Watching content though is actually a joy. That's because of the OLED display and stereo speakers that are like front facing, so the sound is coming in your face instead of around it. And that makes video look and sound really nice. The battery, as mentioned, is awesome. It easily lasts you more than a full day, even if you are a heavy user. And as I mentioned, if you are a lighter use kind of person, it can actually last out for multiple days. But as mentioned earlier, it's really not a bad phone, and in the past few weeks, I've actually enjoyed using it. But I cannot ignore the fact that there are alternatives that are cheaper, faster, and more exciting, and don't have these huge bezels. Phones like the Nothing Phone 3A that I reviewed as well a couple of months ago. It is cheaper and just it's more excitement. Then also we got the Samsung Galaxy A series. I think it's the A55 or A35, something like that. They also have like cool features. Xiaomi Redmi Note 14 Pro, for instance, it is cheaper as well and doesn't have those thick bezels. So they all feel more modern, come with better cameras, and just have a little bit more personality. Overall, guys, this phone is quite a boring phone. And I honestly don't know who this is really for. Who should buy this phone? I really don't know. There are better and cheaper options from other brands, and for some reason this phone still feels like it's living in 2013, even though it's running Android 15 in 2025. And don't get me wrong, as mentioned, it is not a bad phone. Like it's lightweight and just easy to carry around with. It does what it needs to do. If this was like 299 euros or something, it will be a great phone. But for this price, over 400 euros for what it can do, it's compact, it's reliable, and it's kind of charming in a simple way. But for the price, I really recommend going for something a bit more modern, a bit more exciting. Sony, if you're watching this, if you're listening, the Xperia 10-7 feels like it's stuck halfway between nostalgia and progress. Alright guys, that's it for this video. If you have any questions about this phone, drop them down in the comments below. As always, make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, stay safe, stay happy, like the video, comment down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Good luck. Peace out. 8-Town, Sony Xperia 17. Speakers are okay. They're not like pro level stuff, but they're loud and nice.